Good afternoon, folks. Let me get comfy. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We're going back to that horrible world known as the JRC, but before we do, a warning, and then we'll get to the disclaimers. It appears that AH's mouthpiece has decided to crawl out of the wilderness and make her presence once known again on Twitter. What was that about leaving again, Eve? Yeah. It's bait, folks. It's bait. I don't want her on my TL any more than I want AH on my TL. You remember that old thing? It started late 90s. Social media. Don't feed the troll. Do me, my TL, and all of us a favor. And don't feed the troll. Because she wants a reaction out of you. Okay? Just don't do it. Don't give them what they want. I have dealt enough with these people. I deal with them day in, day out. I'm a call center jockey these days, after all. More's the pity. But it's bait. Folks, it's all that it is. It's bait. Did you really think that something wasn't going to happen when all those photos exploded everywhere? You really think that once they saw drummed up interest because of those photos, because you all keep sharing them, that one of these people were not going to come out of a clown car? And you're taking the bait. You're responding. These people get more retweets out of us than they get from their own side. What does that tell you? Don't feed the troll. Even if you are retweeting them in mockery, you ever hear that old line? No publicity is bad publicity? Take it to heart, folks. That is what's continuing that image of continuously going out there. There are other things to be concerned with right now, other than people coming out of the clown car. Don't do it. Quit sharing it. Let her shout her nonsense into the void. Alright? Every single last one of us got a lot more on our plates right now than to be dealing with her delusional self. Okay? I hope one day she gets the mental health help that she very obviously needs. I hope one day that she will not continue to be drawn in by toxic individuals who only want to use her. I know that's weird because of how hateful she has been towards me and others. And her racist rants. I don't know. Maybe I'm a bleeding heart, but at the end of the day, I do feel sorry for her. I do feel like one day when that reality comes crashing down to the point that she can't deny it anymore, don't take the bait. Don't take the bait. Now, let's talk about a subject that actually should be on the news, shall we? Alright, to the disclaimers, folks. In the description box, you're going to find a link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It's written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. Matter of fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much, they've threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. Well, folks, NeuroClastic has refused, so you know the drill. Please read that article and share it on all your social media. Also included in there is the Ozarks first article in regards to the Agape boarding school, now known as Stone for Help boarding school situation. This is a so-called Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that takes in so-called troubled male teens that has impending, folks, over 21 civil lawsuits, claims, and allegations leveled against it, all which have been substantiated by the Missouri Department of Social Services, and they include the following: sodomy, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, child trafficking, starvation, and that's just for starters. You have one former staff member arrested by the FBI, another doctor still on the premises with full access of the boys up on multiple, again, substantiated claims of sodomy, rape, and sexual assault of the boys there. You have an attorney general too busy chasing after drag queens and trying and failing to defund public libraries to actually do his job and protect the kids here. And you've got a governor that I'm afraid, folks, that not even an intervention is going to be able to help. So, folks, please read those articles and share them on all your social media. Also included in there, all the pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject. Jennifer Masamba's behavioral sheet of shockable offenses, a clip out of the 7-hour ordeal undergone by Andre McCollins back in 2002, and the ever-present self-explanatory Change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition. When we discuss the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of peoples with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, folks, please go ahead and use your headphones, all right? All right, folks. This channel is marked not for children for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this, very obviously parental supervision is advised, all right? All right. Prepare yourselves. Grab your calming tea and square your shoulders, folks, because we are about to once again descend into the bad ravings of the lunatic mind known as Dr. Matthew Israel. You're going to hear gaslighting, victim blaming, pseudoscience and lies, abuse and torture, apologencia, all coming from a man with a massive ego and even larger God complex. So prepare yourselves for the monumental, condescending bunch of stupid. We are all about to read. We all know what I really wanted to say there. Just saying. So where we left off, right? An automatic holster-like device attached to a chair in which the children are made to keep their hands. Removal of the hands from the holster triggers an automatic shock. We've seen the chair, doctor, on surveillance tape nonetheless. But let's see what new lies he's going to say, shall we? Yeah. JRC receives students that forcefully hit themselves and have literally thousands of times per day and violently attack other people at a high daily frequency. Here we go again with the victim blaming and the bull. I'm sorry, doctor, but your surveillance video footage does not match your words. I will say it again. When Andre McCollins was shown in the beginning of that video, he was not hopping out of his seat. He was not speaking out of turn. He was not being aggressive towards staff or any of the other students, nor towards himself. None of those things were happening. His crime was refusing to remove his coat. Other surveillance footage that has been used in other court cases has proved the same. The real truth is, doctor, that is the excuse you use to justify your insanity. But in reality, what the evidence shows what survivor and witness testimony shows, what the New York report shows, what the ER documents and the DESI documents show, is that you will shock these children completely unprovoked, and you will justify it by saying we're stopping a chain of behaviors that will lead to aggression, which does not make even the smallest bit of sense if you've got two brain cells to rub together. That is the truth, doctor. Also, I don't know if you've been around since, the late 90s when corporal punishment finally was ended in public schools, but if you notice, there are individuals in schools, bullies, who are known to be violent. Is the solution to strap that bully to a chair and shock him at 85 MPa? Because if you did so, you would be sued into the Stone Age. Just saying. Jersey has successfully treated hundreds of students with this type of intense headbanging, eye gouging, or assault and battery. You harp on this. Always the eye gouging. Always the head banging. Always, we're out of control. We're assaulting and just battering everyone. I don't know about you folks, but I feel I just walk down the street and punch everyone within my line of sight. It's not how any of this works. Want to know when an individual like me does what they call assault? It's when I'm assaulted first. And I react as I have been trained to react, as I was trained to fight. Okay? I came along that line of parenting that says, don't start the fights, but by God, you will finish them. I came from that generation of kids. One of the last generations of kids, I think, that was taught that way. Us autistics, by and large, if left alone, are not just going to randomly be violent and start attacking people. This is what people like the JRC and the people who tout ABA ad nauseum want you to believe. That we are so out of control, so out of our minds, that we are just doing this completely unprovoked. Now, am I going to sit there and tell you that there are not instances of parents and siblings being abused? No, because I'm not a liar. I've been to those houses. Again, I've seen the bars on the windows. I know, doctor. Again, I lived with that individual. And I was target number one for a decade. So for the love of God, do not tell me I do not understand. That being said, the answer to violence is not more violence. What is that teaching the kid? Nothing. It reinforces for them that might makes right. It reinforces it ad nauseum. Ever hear about the cycle of abuse, doctor? That's when individuals who are victims of abuse become abusers themselves later on in life because they have never received proper treatment. It's how things like this continue. By you committing violence, and no matter how you wrap it up as treatment with a little bow and pseudoscience and your lies, it is violence, doctor, against these kids. Even playing devil's advocate and playing your little game, it doesn't work because you are reinforcing what they already thought before you got your hands on them. And you want to talk about some individuals who handled abuse and end up with some major anger management issues, because I was that person. Okay? I was that person. And I am damn lucky that I had the mother and the family that I did to make sure that I got the damn help that I needed, so I did not continue to cycle abuse on. How many kids do you think get that luxury when he's literally and intentionally preying on poor communities with majority of populations being people of color, who are already being preyed upon because there is a vacuum, because there is lack of services, and nobody ever does anything about it. So they turn to this guy and their desperation. See what I'm saying here? The answer to things like this is not more violence. As I stated before, if a person is a self-injurious person and they discover the idea that if I do a behavior, I will be shocked. Suicide by cop, ring a bell, anyone? Just saying. Nobody ever addresses that from the JRC. You notice? You notice that? You would think, as someone who was a psychologist, that that thought might be in his head, that you might have individuals with that particular mental health issue of intentional self-harming who may actually perform those behaviors in order to receive the shock. It's not a reach, doctor. Just saying. In the case of a few of the students, a holster was developed for students to wear on their belt, not attached to the chair, so that they could learn how to be around other people without attacking themselves or others. Here we go again. This is this idea that this behavior comes out of nowhere. Just because you don't understand this does not mean that this does not have a cause. It's an interesting thing when you use proper planning and people get together to actually cater the program to the individual instead of doing things cookie cutter. Particularly when you bring in assistive devices that help and assist that person to communicate. Want to know what you find out? There's a sensory issue. There is a traumatic trigger that is getting punched and they're reacting out of fight or flight. There is a lot of reasons. It doesn't come from nowhere. We are smart individuals. Yes, even the nonverbal of us are very intelligent individuals. We know a hell of a lot more about what's going on around us than people ever give us credit for. Given the opportunity and the ability and the accommodations and assistive devices if necessary to be able to tell individuals what's going on before those behaviors happen, we can tell you. But will you listen? The procedure has been extremely successful, is safe, and is only done when the court approval under the direct supervision of an experienced staff. Here we go again. The courts. Nocturnal level staff. Again, doctor, where do these judges go to school? Is it medical school? No. Do any of those judges you see have psychology or psychiatry degrees? No, doctor. They have law school degrees, which means their knowledge of this particular subject is extremely limited. And because of the culture that you help foster, they are helpless to do anything but rely on you because you are supposed to be the authority. Telling me that the court says it's safe doesn't make me feel better. Okay? And really a bad defense when you think about Massachusetts state history and the courts. Seriously? Also, these doctors, particularly the old school doctors, their measurement of success is one of two things. Either we are forced, browbeaten, and abused into masking 24/7 and masking so well that they can't tell the difference between us and our neurotypical peers. If they get that, they get to see what they want. They don't care about the toll it takes on our mental health. They don't care that the suicide rate for people with autism, people who are autistic like me, is astronomically high because of the mental health issues that come from being forced to pretend to be somebody else every second of your life. All they care about is, am I getting the results I want right now? Damned be the toll that we have to pay. But nobody wants to have that conversation, because we've been trying to have that conversation for a long time, but nobody cares. Because we're throwaway humans, right? We're just the subhuman pieces underneath your shoe that stick there, right? Please don't sit there and try to bullshit me and tell me anything different. I'm near 40. I've worked in the field. I've seen you old school doctors. And yeah, they don't care. That's number one. And if they can't get that out of us, because maybe we're nonverbal, maybe we don't have the gift of acting in us, well, then their idea of success is to getting us to such an emotionless, robotic, catatonic state that pretty much it looks like all the humanity and spark of life has been sucked out of us. That's not real success. If your methods of treatment leave someone completely and utterly psychologically destroyed to the point that later on in life, in their 30s, they end up offing themselves because of the damage, that's not success. If the damage is done so badly that it seems like all the humanity has been sucked and all that is left there is robotic and autopilot, that's not success. Not by anybody's measurement, at least in this day and age. But let's go forward, shall we? You can't sit there and continue to tell me it's safe when you run a device that's on 85 MPa, doctor, because I'm not an idiot. It is barely below the lethal limit, doctor. Done incorrectly, it can kill. A device that leaves second and third degree burns, and don't tell me it's just a little bit of red spot, doctor. I know the difference. Again, I've been around hospitals, particularly ERs, because of my mom since before I could walk. I know the difference between a little red spot and pictures of those victims with second to third degree burns. Okay? Spare me. When you shock a student to a point that they go full-on catatonic for a month, it's not safe. when individuals can testify to, with doctors and the medical paperwork to back it up, that they have lost feeling in the places where those electrodes were attached. It's not safe. When you have literally reports from doctors, and we do, where their body comes in so bruised with burns, with bruises and abrasions, that you have to take them off the device for an extended period of time for them to heal up, because there is not a one piece of skin that does not have some sort of bruise or issue. That's not safe. The procedure has helped her regain her eyesight, having detached both retinas at her previous placement where aversive therapy was not available. Photos of the student appeared section H above. Because you don't appreciate the privacy of your students. We already know that, doctor. But it's the only thing that would make her stop. You don't understand. She would have never stopped. As a kid who was one of the last generation to be spanked, doctor, that behavior stops for all 5 minutes. You remove the threat, and because the underlying issue that was causing the behavior has not been dealt with, guess what happens? And now you got trauma on top of it. So that behavior may become far worse than ever it had been before you got your hands on them, Mingala. But we don't want to talk about that, do we, doctor? You are so insistent that there is no other way, that no amount of evidence, data, hell, the leading psychiatrists and psychologists in the field and their results will ever convince you that anything else will work, even if the person is sitting in front of you and you can see a video of their previous behavior. You are biased beyond all reason. You are either the most delusional human being on this planet, or you are the most sinister monster I've ever heard of. Point blank. We're going to close on that. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time. And as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea do hope you have a good one. Bye-bye, everyone.